Welcome to the latest episode of our podcast series for financial advisors. Today's episode is Lessons from the Lakes, from golf pro to $5 billion family office partner. It's a conversation with Constantine Hatzivassiliou, partner at Certuity. I'm Jason Diamond, and this is the Diamond Podcast for financial advisors.
At Diamond Consultants, we help elite advisors identify the right environment for their businesses to thrive, whether that's at a wirehouse, boutique, or independent firm. With nearly 3 decades of experience, we've guided thousands of advisors and represented more than $250 billion in assets transitioned. And each year, 1 in 4 advisors managing $1 billion or more who change firms are our clients. Our process is education-driven and based on building relationships, starting as your strategic partner well before you're even thinking of a move. To schedule a confidential conversation, call us at 908-879-1002. Wondering why advisors change firms and where they're headed? Are transition deals going up or down? Those very questions and more inspired us to create our annual Advisor Transition Report. It's the award-winning, data-driven resource designed for advisors that connects the dots between the motivations around movement and the firm's appetite for top talent. Arm yourself with the knowledge you need to make smart decisions. Download your copy at diamond-consultants.com/transition report.
Golf is a way of exposing who you really are. There are no teammates to blame, no clock to run out, and no hiding from a bad decision. Every shot demands discipline, patience, and the ability to stay focused when the pressure is highest. My guest today knows that firsthand. Before becoming a partner at Certuity, a multifamily office approaching $5 billion in assets, Constantine Hatzivassiliou was pursuing a career as a professional golfer. An injury ultimately redirected his path towards wealth management, but many of the lessons he learned on the course still shape the way he serves clients today. Certuity has grown from roughly $210 million in assets to nearly $5 billion. That's impressive on its own, but the more interesting story is how they've done it. The firm has grown largely through referrals, built around a multifamily office model, and focused on becoming far more than an investment advisor to the families it serves. In Constantine's view, the best advisors aren't simply managing portfolios. They're the first person clients call when a business is being sold, a family issue becomes complicated, or a major decision carries consequences well beyond the balance sheet. Constantine and I discuss the lessons golf teaches about handling pressure. Then we dive into the evolution from the traditional wealth management world to the multifamily office model, why referrals drive nearly all of Certuity's growth, how he thinks about private equity's influence on the advisory business, and what it takes to become the first call for the wealthy families they serve. And perhaps most importantly, why the same qualities that help someone succeed on a golf course may be surprisingly relevant to building trust over a lifetime. It's a great conversation, so let's dive in. Constantine, thank you so much for joining. Thrilled to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had an unconventional path to wealth management. You started as a professional golfer. I think that's a first for us on this show, before ultimately transitioning into this world. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey and what brought you here?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be here. My parents were certainly shocked that I got here, pathwise. Growing up, immigrants from Greece, you settle into Florida the traditional way where you either go down the diner route or the gas station route, right? Mechanics, of which my father was the latter. And school and education was never a priority. It was always about supporting the family needs. So next thing you know, sports are a critical part of any good household. That's how I was raised. And I played everything but golf. I grew up on a golf course because my parents believed that the location of a property was critical to long-term financial success. We lived on a golf course. It was in our backyard. We'd stare at it. We'd use it to play football or baseball or anything but actual golf. And my freshman year at the University of Florida, I started dating a girl on the golf team, and she got me hooked to the point where after 4 years of hitting balls with the women's and men's golf team at the University of Florida for 6 hours a day, you finish school and realize I'm actually pretty good at the game. And while I have a finance and economics background and degree, let's try and pursue this for a living. And I was blessed. I had a sponsor who helped me succeed at golf on a small scale. It was a humbling experience, to say the least. I was competing and playing with Sean O'Hare, Ken Duke, guys who made it out on tour for a very long time. We had the same sponsor, so we functioned as a team, right? It was a collegiate team effectively trying to make it out on tour. And unfortunately, my second year of competing, I blew out my back doing heavy deadlifts, which set me aside for 18. While I was recovering, my primary sponsor was in financial services and says, hey, you have a background in this. It's killing you not being able to be on the golf course. Why don't you come work for me while you're rehabbing so that when you get back to playing golf, it's easier for you to talk about our business, right? As a sponsor, to try and develop business to throw it to the financial services side. And Jason, the reality is after 18 months working there, I fell in love with it. I made way more money working in that environment than I ever would have made playing golf because, again, I came to the game late. I was decent, but I was nowhere near the caliber of players that are succeeding now out on tour. So I pivoted after having met my wife and decided to settle down into the wealth management space. And what's it now? 26 years later, going strong. So it's been a fun transition from golf into wealth management, to say the least.
Probably my favorite background. I watch a lot of golf. I should caveat that. Probably my favorite origin story we've had. I'll give you the Wanamaker trophy or whatever you get, first place. Let's talk about the business now. So Certuity, for our audience who may not be familiar, tell us a little bit about the firm. What types of clients do you serve, and any context you can provide on size as well. We'll talk about how your firm got there, but just give us the where we are today to start with.
So goal by the end of the year is to have $5 billion in AUM. We're just shy of that now. We currently service 428 families across the country. So we're boutique-y and nimble. We're based in South Florida. We have offices in New York, San Fran, and LA. I'm fortunate to be one of 4 partners at the firm, supporting the growth and the direction of the company. And it's a fun endeavor in the sense that when we first started, I was employee number 4, 16 years ago. And with 210 million in AUM at the time, to grow it to where we are today, to learn all the things that we have over the years, the curveballs that were thrown at us, because all of us came from massive institutional wealth management firms. So the transition from the Bernsteins of the world, the BNY Mellons of the world, into an RIA in the South Florida market, there was absolutely an entrepreneurial learning curve involved.
I bet. And one follow-up question. 16 years ago, did you have a book of business, client business, and do you still maintain a book of business today?
I do. The 4 of us at the firm share in all of the clients. We work together. Being in the Southeast, I'm responsible for, let's call it the Southeast demographics of the US, which is a large portion of Certuity's book. I have a partner in Tennessee. I have a partner in LA and San Francisco, and we divide and conquer across the country. But yes, we came over with a small book. We've all grown it organically since then so we've been very effective in how we've grown.
Just from adding new client money?
Strictly through new clients referred to us by existing clients.
Wow. I want to talk more about the growth because that's remarkable. But before I do, can we double click on the service model? So I would say the most typical we hear, I think more of our guests typically come from the wirehouse world where it's, I have my book, you have your book. What does your service model look like? So is it truly, if it's working well from the end client perspective, you should be interchangeable with your partners and it's a true team approach?
How we engage our clients, the theory should be I can get hit by a bus tomorrow, and outside of the client not being able to speak to me directly, they will not have a hiccup in any way, shape, or form. And when we're dealing with families across multiple generations, the way we've built our platform, that continuity is critical in the engagement process for the clients hiring us to help them through all of the challenges that they face.
What's your sweet spot in terms of client size?
Our average client size today has just shy of 8 million AUM with us. Yep. We have some clients who have $1 million, certainly, but they're strategic in that their friends, their family, they could be centers of influence who help send business our way because they value what it is that we do. And there's a strategic partnership. because we might need them for their trust and estate services or their accounting work. And they have clients who have a need, and we're on the short list of people they refer to.
That they trust. Yeah, it makes sense. So I've seen this in the news and also even on your own internal materials. I've seen you described as both a modern multifamily office. You'll also obviously hear the term RIA as well. Does that distinction matter at all? And maybe my second part of that question would be, what is the distinction between that space, whatever you call it, and the more traditional firm world from a client service perspective? You mentioned that all of your partners from that world. So
I started in this industry truly at an institutional level at Bernstein in Ely. And for anyone who knows Bernstein, they really do brainwash you on the fiduciary model. And the values affiliated with that philosophy has translated through my career at BNY Mellon, which has a very similar feel as Bernstein. And then when we came here, we instilled that same core value principle of fiduciary responsibility to our clients. So we are very different than a traditional wirehouse or brokerage house. It is why we've grown so successfully. I would never, one, work for an institution that did abide by those standards. And secondarily, I wished Congress and Senate would turn around and actually implement a mandatory fiduciary liability for all financial advisors. Because far too often we see prospective clients or families get taken advantage of because the individual sitting across from them giving them financial advice is not necessarily aligned with their goals and objectives.
I take it you are fee only.
We are fee only.
Yeah. I don't want to lose the thread on the first part of my question. Do you think there's a distinction between a multifamily office and an RIA? Like, I don't want to lead you here, but to me, it implies a different level or a different caliber of service model. That probably includes more of the ancillary trust and estate and CPA type stuff that higher net worth clients need, but curious what your thoughts are.
Our first 7 years at the firm, we were strictly an RIA. We functioned as an advisory service provider to our clients. What attracted me and my partners to Certuity was the nimbleness of the firm. So for instance, at BNY Mellon, we often deemed a change necessary as moving an aircraft carrier across the world. It was an impossible task to accomplish. But when you're small and nimble and clients come to you with a need and you're in the service building first and foremost, it made sense for us to start building out family office services for our clients because they had a need. And we found it as a way to centralize everything, because far too often when the communication standards break down between all the individual parts, one, it's more expensive for the clients, and two, the process is inefficient. Things get missed. So we tried, largely due to our growth, to bring everything in-house, and our clients appreciate that more.
So this is not a chicken and egg situation. This is very much, we had large clients, we were attracting large clients, and in order to service them optimally, here's what we felt we needed to build. Is that fair?
100%.
Let's shift gears. I need to go deeper on the professional golf thread a little bit. I promise I won't make the whole interview about your golf background. I'm curious if you feel like that experience or that, I don't know, upbringing or background laid any foundation for the way you engage with clients today or the way you operate as a business leader today.
So there's a couple parts to that. The golf side, certainly just from an engaging client perspective, 90% of our clients are golfers.
It's very true.
Right? It just helps because of our background, and certainly with some of the clients and partners that we have at the firm, golf is a critical thread in what we do. However, when it comes to golf, what I learned playing golf at a high level directly translates to how we manage money for clients. And I'll express it this way. There's generally two types of golfers. There's the artist, the Sergios of the world, who don't fundamentally function off of specific points in their swing or a very structured platform. They see something, their mind becomes creative, and they execute on it. I was never that way. I am a numbers person. I think everything analytically. I break everything down to the minute. Everything is strategized and organized. I was taught to practice that way by Coach Alexander at the University of Florida. And that foundational element seemed easy. It worked. If you practice properly, you've succeeded. Under pressure, all those hours and hours of repetition translated to success more often than not. In our industry, it's process driven. It has to be unemotional. A bad shot in golf is the equivalent of a bad day in the market. You can't let one bad day in the market influence everything you do for the next year. Same way on the golf course playing in a tournament, you can't allow one golf shot to affect the rest of the round. We kid with our clients oftentimes that while we are fundamentally their financial advisor, more often than not, we're their financial therapist. We have to control their emotions and make sure they're not making an irrational decision. For instance, a couple of days ago, we were out with a client the day that Iran shot down one of the US military helicopters. And we're sitting down at lunch, and all of a sudden his phone starts blowing up because he's getting all these Google alerts as to the market heading in the wrong direction. And he had to go do a life insurance test later on that afternoon. So all week he had prepped, and he was calm and he was relaxed. He was really excited. My wife is setting me up with a new insurance policy, and I know it's for her benefit, but all my numbers look good. I'm going to ace this, and my premiums will be really low because of it, right? It was a $25 million policy. And as he's looking at his phone and he sees the market collapsing in his mind, his blood pressure rose to no end, right? You could see that his anxiety level went through the roof. And had I not been there with him at the time to hold his hand through that process, his afternoon would have been shot. I would have got a phone call saying, what are we doing to prevent 2% loss in my portfolio? Because that's how he thinks. And in that moment, I was the therapist to talk him off a ledge. It's so hard for individuals to manage the stress of the markets, that golfer mentality of, okay, just breathe, relax, let's see what's going on. Let's make an educated, confirmed decision. Let's circle back with our caddy, right? If we're on tour and competing, and make a unified decision for the long-term success of the goal that we're trying to achieve. And what we do every day is the same thing with our clients.
It's an incredibly thoughtful answer. I expected a version of the latter part of your answer. I appreciate that you added the part about just like most clients like golf, enjoy talking about golf, enjoy playing golf, and it's an effective business development tool. There's no question.
So I have two kids, right? A 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. My son, who's 12, who's an exceptional soccer player and he aspires to play professionally one day, has now fallen in love with golf, which I'm ecstatic about. I think golf and tennis from a business development perspective.
Yeah, lifelong sports.
And I look at it now, and my mentor when I started in the business was absolutely right. The fact that I could get a CEO of a Fortune 100 company to want to actively spend 4 hours with me, where we could dive into the weeds about their personal life, their financial situation, their business, you could never get that time otherwise. I urge everyone who's coming out of college or is going into college who wants to aspire to be in any type of sales related role, golf is a great venue to make long-term relationships.
And importantly, tennis is not as good on the knees long-term or the back long-term. So you stick to golf, you get a little more longevity out of it.
It does help. Yes. You're right.
My thought always goes to, like, people call it the 15th club in golf, just this mental element of the game. And to me, it's the clear moment in golf that always comes to mind for me is the 72nd hole. I don't know if you just watched the US Women's Open, but Nelly Korda standing over a 2-foot putt that I really thought she missed. Is there an equivalent of that moment? Like, are you ever able to recreate that pressure in your current role, or is that something that you miss?
Jason, we have those moments weekly, countless stories. Here's where I love my job. I've transitioned from being the guy behind the screen who's just trading accounts, right? That's where we all start. And you have to have that foundational perspective of what's involved in trading an account on a daily basis. Not that we ever picked stocks to an extensive level, right? We're generally managing ETFs, mutual funds, and strategies. But I'll give you an example. So just last week, we had a family, and this is where the family office side comes in more so than the financial advisory services coming. We had spent 4 months in helping a family sell their business. It was a life-altering moment. The dad started the business. The dad had been independently successful, net worth of well into 8 figures, was happy and content, brought his son into the business. Son was brilliant, saw an opportunity within the business, and grew the business by 4,000%.
Literally?
Yep. All because of this. The son saw a different direction, right, and pivoted the business and grew it out. And here he is getting ready to have their first child, and he gets approached by a firm to acquire his business. They're ecstatic. The number was perfect. I thought it was overvalued. I was telling them that there's no way they could turn it down because the number was too significant. Had they gone to the market, they would probably never achieve that level of return. And literally the day of closing, as we're expecting the wire to come through, the deal gets pulled. So here you have the father who's crushed because he was trying to provide something for his son, the son who's just devastated because he had now was preparing for the second stage of his love. And you go through at that stage, the classic stages of grief, right? It's the cycle that goes through it. I mean, I was holding their hand through the 3-month process up to there, right? Every day, hourly calls, strategizing, building everything out, organizing the accounting team, organizing the attorneys, getting it all to work out. And here I am, father and son, unbelievably stressed. You have the wives in the background who can't quite comprehend what's going on, right? You have employees beneath them who are now confused as to there was a transition getting ready to take place. And the only person who can step in under that critical moment to bring everybody back together was me. So here I am thinking 20 years ago, I'll just pick stocks and bonds for individuals. And now I'm in the middle of deal flow, trying to help a family solve the issues that arise. So those are hugely critical impactful moments, right? Where because our clients are our friends and family, we care for them like they're our own, you become emotionally attached. And the same pressure that I felt when I won my first mini tour event after college, when I had to get up and down from the impossible bunker shot, right? And I hit it to 6 feet and I made the crucial putt to win my first $23,000 check, which I thought was unbelievable. They gave me those big old fashioned
Happy Gilmore checks.
Exactly, right? It was the greatest day at that time. The stress of being in that bunker, trying to hit that shot, is the same stress I felt having 2 phones ringing, one the father, one the son, where we have to keep that situation separate. So you're diving into unbelievably stressful situation.
Yeah.
And the best part is when we get it all solved, right? And literally yesterday, we solved the entire dynamic of the business. I get a text from a son saying that this was the most incredible roller coaster experience he's ever experienced, that he's incredibly grateful for all that I did and our team did for him, and that for the rest of his life, we will always be the first person he calls to solve any of his problems. So for us, that's the recreation of that stressful moment, right? And then the victory on the back end. 25 years ago, I got the big Happy Gilmore check. Yesterday, I got that text, which I've printed out and framed, and I have it in my office as a constant memory of why it is we do what we do.
And I would bet that's more impactful than the $23,000. It's an incredible story. And I'll tell you why. You said it, but it's as far away from stocks and bonds as you could possibly get. But I think most advisors, a story like that resonates much more. It leads into my next question. You intentionally choose to service a high net worth segment of the market. And I would assume that number's probably creeping up, not down over time in terms of who you service. My thought is that's a very competitive segment of the market as well. Is this how you differentiate? Is just you make it about those types of human examples, or is there more to it?
I'm envious of the advisor who could walk into a room of 200 people and they become the central focal point of the room, where they can walk up to every single person and fearlessly ask them incredibly personal information. I'm not wired that way, right? For me, I'm very much the individual that I will find the one person that I have common ground with. I will deepen that relationship and I will add value. And because of the value that I create, I become a critical component of that individual's success. And that's how we've grown our business holistically at the firm, largely by that extra layer of service. We're a commodity business, right? Being in South Florida, the clubs that I belong to, 10 to 15% of the members feel like they're financial advisors. You could throw a rock anywhere and find a financial advisor. So how do I differentiate myself? The only way I can truly differentiate myself and my firm is the level of service we provide, to go that extra step, to where when we're calling a client, they know I'm calling them to support their needs, not because I'm seeking something for any ulterior motive.
But you don't mention financial planning or investment management or asset custody. Is that because I assume just that's table stakes? Like, of course we do that, but okay. Yeah, makes sense.
It's That's the easy part, right? That's foundationally. And to your earlier point, you're asking the RA model. One of the biggest challenges that we had down here in South Florida was the RA model is new. If you were in the Northeast, RAs are very common.
Yep.
Out West, incredibly common. Down here in South Florida, I just finished dealing with Bernie Madoff.
You were fighting the good education fight a little bit.
At Bernstein, 108 of our clients had assets with Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
So when you leave, one of our biggest growing curves as an RA in South Florida was when you leave the power of BNY Mellon or Bernstein and you're some random little shop called Certuity, no one knows who you are. So there was a big part of our education in the business was learning how to educate clients and prospective clients on the value of the RIA model and the fiduciary model in particular.
Could you give me the 30-second answer to that? If somebody says like, who are you, your prospect? Because I'll tell you why I ask. Forget just Bernsteins and BNYs of the world. A Morgan Stanley advisor or a Merrill advisor has the exact same fear. I'm leaving Merrill to go launch Jason Diamond Wealth Management. My client's going to say, well, who is that? So give me the quick pitch.
Your typical broker, let's say you're not really hiring JP Morgan. You're not really hiring Wells Fargo. You're not hiring Goldman Sachs. You're hiring the advisor who works for that institution. Now, yes, that advisor has the Rolodex of data and information available at the firm level, but ultimately you're entrusting that individual to make your decisions for you. The broker who leaves the brokerage model to open up their own brick and mortar operation has to then decide, are they continuing down the wirehouse brokerage model where they're transactional in nature? The economics behind that, far more profitable. The revenue streams affiliated with a brokerage house drastically blow ours out of the water, right? Being fee only. But then you have to also look at yourself in the mirror, right? So how are you running your book of business? How are you running your practice? So answer your 30-second question. The RIA model, in my opinion, is truly the only way any family of wealth should proceed with an advisory firm, because you want an individual who is aligned in your goals and objectives. Our clients know that I'm their chief financial officer. I work for them. They task us with building out a financial strategy that is customized to their individual needs. And they never have to worry, do I have an ulterior motive as to why I'm presenting an option in that strategy? And because of that, the fiduciary model, I think, is critical for our success as a firm. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I wish it's something that was industry-wide and not the vast minority.
Yeah, no, it's a great answer. So do you think then that as time has gone on, this has gotten easier? I assume the answer is yes, right? Either because more clients are aware of your brand and or more aware of the space as a whole.
The first thing that helped the most was some gray hair. When I started at Bernstein, I attempted to solicit new clients very much the same way I do today. But when I was 26 years old and I'm sitting in front of a family and the dad was in the 70s and he lived his life and I'm younger than his kids, he would look at me and say, what do you really know? What experience do you have? So doing this now for as long as I have, the number one thing that has helped me the most in growth is just wisdom and time. Without that, yes, you can be a rock star stock picker. We have so many kids coming out of college today with the advent of AI and technology that have algorithms that could run unbelievable portfolios. And there is a segment of the market who wants to hire and engage those individuals. But generally speaking, the families that we service, that is 10th or 12th on the list of importance.
No, I think that's spot on. I think most high net worth clients counterintuitively agree with that. That alpha, for lack of a better term, is really not the name of the game, or not in the top 5 reasons why you would engage with a financial advisor.
Agreed. The biggest thing that we've been doing to educate clients, especially in today's environment, I had a call yesterday with an individual, a client who lives in New Jersey, who works out of New York for a hedge fund. He knows our space incredibly well. He's one of those kids, 28 years old, brilliant, as smart as you'll ever be. But his tax bracket's atrocious, right? He is paying so much of his W-2 income in taxes. And building out a strategy that can reduce his tax liability by several $100,000 a year far exceeds any alpha I can generate by picking a top decile performer.
What was the strategy? Move to Florida? I'm just kidding. Don't answer that.
We offered that, but unfortunately he has to be physically in the office in New York City. But yes.
I think that will resonate, by the way. Your gray hair comment, I appreciate the humility and some modesty in that, because the reality is, one of the questions I was going to ask you about was next gen talent cultivation. In my opinion, this is a hard game for younger folks for that reason. People sit across from other people with a lot of money and they say, why am I going to entrust you with my life's work when you just don't have that degree of experience? I was asking though more even about your firm success and your firm story. Have you felt like that's caught on more? Like, do you have more brand awareness, if you will, now when you go to a prospect meeting, or do you think you're still constantly fighting that kind of education fight?
So, first part, brands, it's improved in our immediate network, in our little bubble of the world. Yes, it's known. Let's call it in South Florida, the influential attorneys, the accountants, the divorce attorneys know who we are because having been down here long enough, we've had opportunities to work together. Our network of friends, certainly the word spreads, right? But in the grand scheme of things, we are so small in the South Florida landscape or the LA landscape or the New York landscape. So any incremental gain that we pick up is meaningful. And then as it relates to young talent, our success is completely long-term derived by the young talent that we bring in to nurture them, to help them grow. I look at our success. Two of our critical mentors and board members of our firm are in their 80s. Their children and grandchildren, nepotism aside, whether it was interning while in college, right, or coming to work for us after school, they're our best employees. And our goal as a firm, just like how I was offered the opportunity to become a partner and own a piece of the business, our goal long-term will be to transition the business to this younger generation that we're developing. I look at, again, those two board members who are in their 80s, the advice they've given me is don't ever stop working. You have to be doing something. And I turn to them and I say, I don't work every day. I put in 20-hour days, well, not quite 20, 18-hour days, but it's never work because what I do every day, I don't deem it work. I love what I do. I don't ever see myself stopping because they'll tell me all of their friends that have stopped working or sold their business, invariably the men die within 6 months because of boredom. And we always joke around that you'll continue to work forever. So I would hope that one day I transition into that advisory board member role where I step aside day-to-day activity, where I'm now a mentor to our younger generation that we're promoting into partners, because we've made promises to our clients that we will forever be their family office, right? So we have to, as part of our growth model, have those transitions in place because we're servicing many families that have 85-year-old clients and 2-year-old clients. And we're tasked with the 2-year-olds as well as the 85-year-old.
I also feel like there's a little bit of a, like, younger generations, I think, have been reluctant to some degree to get it. You can disagree with this, to get into this space because there's a more appeal to things like investment banking and sales and trading to some degree. The other problem, obviously, you alluded to is asset gathering. Your model speaks so clearly to successful because you don't say, I own the client, that's my relationship. To me, you plant the seeds of being able to handle succession much better than somebody who does the mine is mine and yours is yours approach. Is that fair?
That's completely accurate. And I think there's two types of people that serve in the financial advisory space, right? You have the individual who is analytics driven, who likes being behind the bank of monitors, trading account. And there's a critical part of our firm and our success is driven by the team in the office that aren't necessarily client facing, that do all the heavy lifting every day because they're really doing the heavy work. Myself, my partners, right, the select few, while talented and able to do that, realize the value that we present is quarterbacking the relationship and helping understand all the components, right? We kid around that we've all stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. We've become experts in tax. We've become experts at trust and estate planning. We've become experts at divorce. We've become experts at the medical field. It's shocking how it's 2:00 in the morning and you get a phone call, panic attack by a client saying they need a doctor for X, Y, and Z. Can you connect me? So the younger generation, yes, the sexy space is investment banking. And that is really hard work. right? I could not do what my friends at Goldman do or at these private mid-market funds. That's just not me. I've been fortunate that I stumbled into an avenue in financial services that I think perfectly fits my personality and my want and desire to help others, because that's what we're driven by. And we try and hire people with that same mindset. The hardest thing as an RIA, especially in South Florida, is finding and retaining talent that is like-minded and that can function well within our family.
If you build a firm predicated on culture and client service, I understand certainly the importance of that. I want to shift gears. I don't want to lose this thought. You mentioned organic growth. It's incredible. You have not mentioned inorganic growth at all, maybe because you haven't had to, but give me your thoughts on M&A, private equity in this space. Do you have plans to sell the business, take on a capital partner, buy other RIAs?
Yeah, so I understand why private equity in the last 10 years has come into the market. For years, they bought up insurance practices, right? That recurring revenue, sticky assets. It makes sense. Personally, I'm not a fan of them being in our markets. I think they're motivated at the end of the day by AUM growth, revenue growth, and the second transaction, which for most of our clients would not make sense, because again, that then questions why it is that we're motivated to do something. Am I taking extra risk in the portfolio because I want to grow the AUM because I'm looking to sell in a year? Am I bringing in a strategy that has a higher fee, right? For us, it doesn't work. In the brokerage model, it makes perfect sense, right? Now, there are some RIAs who leave the wirehouses, open up an RIA shop, do really well for their clients, but don't have the long-term aspirations of making the institution a legacy to where they're passing it off. I hope my kids one day want to come work for dad and follow in his steps, right? That would be amazing. Just like our younger generation working at the firm, right? Our goal is we've already targeted the 3 or 4 guys that will be partner one day and we'll transition the business over to them. But it's okay if there's an RA out there who doesn't have that transition plan or isn't motivated by that and is looking at it as a vehicle that I've built a really good, successful book of business. And I want to now retire and spend time with my family and kids and travel, et cetera. And that's where PE steps in and offers an attractive number and the person makes a move. So I can't fault the individual for wanting that, right? And I'm not saying that they're not doing well by their clients. It's just for us, I'm not a fan of it because, again, I'm first critically and always focused on what's best for the client.
Fair. And I largely agree with some of what you said around private equity in this space, but private equity enables, obviously it's capital, so which enables acquisitions, which is why a lot of firms take on private equity. So what about the idea of potentially buying businesses to start up inorganic growth?
We have gone down the road of acquiring other institutions potentially. The challenge is because we manage money so uniquely and our approach is so different, I'm not going to bring on an institution or bring in a new partner to the firm or a new book of business that we've acquired if the methodology and the life of that book doesn't mirror ours. So yes, there is opportunities to grow through acquisition. It's not something that we are leaning on heavily. However, right, for the right institution that's available, that is aligned with our thinking, whose clients would value and appreciate how we do things, or if that institution is doing something truly unique that we would want to bolt on to our platform all day long, right? Because again, for the benefit of the client, it makes sense. So yes, there are opportunities for that. Too often we find that when a book is available for acquisition, the highest bidder tends to win out, right? And we don't have the deep enough pockets to write a multiple that we don't deem to be, let's call it market neutral, right?
Yeah, market prudent. I understand the premise. I think that's fair. I also think you have the luxury because of your organic growth. You can be super, super picky about inorganic. And I love how you bring it all back to the lens of the client. Like, can this improve the client experience in some way? And if so, yes, we'll take a look. I got time for one more question. I can't believe time has flown. You've had a remarkable journey professional golf, now partner at a $4 billion plus on the way to $5 billion RIA multifamily office. What are you most proud of when you reflect on your career journey?
What am I most proud of? To look back to see what Rich, myself, and Mark and Jason built over these years, from where we were sitting in a small conference room, right, struggling to figure out how do we find a way to hire a trust and estate attorney to help with that component. Which CPAs do we bring on board in-house because clients have a need, right? So the entrepreneurial spirit involved in growing the business, the late nights, the struggles, the banter back and forth, to put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this, and now to look at all that we've accomplished, being in 4 separate states, right, with offices, having so many wonderful employees that have come to us from all over the world, Germany, from China, from Tokyo, bringing people in to the US and building out something that when we leave at the end of the day are incredibly proud of. My father's no longer with us. For 50 years, I always strived to make him proud because he never told me that he was proud of me, right? He was the classic Greek, old-fashioned dad. I think he looks down on us now for everything that we've built and would say that he's proud of us. So for me, that's the best.
Yeah, it's an incredible place to end. Thank you for sharing that. It's a touching place to end, and I appreciate you being open. This has been one of my favorite episodes. Your journey, your humility, your honesty, your transparency. It's no wonder you've built the business you've built. So thanks for joining us, Constantine. I look forward to having you back on to talk about the next chapter.
Thank you. Next time we'll do it from the golf course.
Yo, absolutely.
As a financial advisor, you hold yourself to the highest standards of integrity, honesty, and credibility. You are successful because you take your professional responsibilities seriously and are dedicated to your clients. But are you living your best business life? Are your goals aligned with your firm's, or could a better option exist? Should I Stay or Should I Go is a book written with you in mind. It's a self-guided journey that walks you through the key steps that we take with our advisor clients. This strategic thought process and roadmap to professional self-discovery is designed to help you ask the right questions and think critically and objectively, whether you're considering change or not. Learn how to get your copy at diamond-consultants.com/thebook.